So today's topic is going to be focused more on subtracting fractions, especially subtracting fractions with borrowing. So let's take our first example. We have 1/4 minus 4/5. Alright, in this situation our common denominator is going to be 20. So let's go ahead and do that. So 20 and 20. So times 4 and times 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. And then also over here we multiply by 5 and multiply by 5. Okay, so you can already tell we're going to have a negative answer here. So 5 minus 16, let me just write that over here. 5 minus 16 is basically saying 5 plus negative 16. Okay, so we're going to have negative 11 here, and then our denominator is going to be equal to 20. So this would be our final answer. Now, let's take a look at another one. So 2.5 minus 5 4/5. In this case, our least common multiple is going to be equal to 10. Alright, so let's go ahead and write that. So we have 10 at the bottom here, and then 10 here. Times 2, so 8, and then times 5, we have 5 at the top. Okay, so I want you to notice something here. If we're going to subtract the fractions, we have 5 minus 8. Alright, so we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to borrow from this 2 in order to make this fraction bigger. This is how we'll do it. So as you can see, the denominator here is 10. So I'm going to subtract 1 from here. Then I'm going to put 10 over 10. Okay? Just using the same denominator. So as you can see, I haven't really changed the number. It's 1 and 10 tenths. 1 and 10 tenths is just the same as saying 2. So let's add what's remaining for the 5 tenths. So let's add this now. 10 plus 5 is 15 over 10. So I just transform this into this. So I'll be able to borrow and subtract. Now let's finish with the other side. So minus 5 and 8 tenths. Okay, so let's subtract the whole numbers. This is what we'll get. And then we get to subtract the fractions now, because 15 minus 8. So we have negative 4 and 7 tenths as our final answer. Let's try a few more examples. Go ahead and erase this. Alright, so let's say we have 5 and 1/5 minus 2 and 3/5. Alright, so in this situation, our denominator is already the same, which is perfect. But we run into that same problem where we have a 1 and we're trying to take away 3 from it. So let's go ahead and borrow again. I'm going to reduce this by 1. So instead of 5, I have 4. And then for our denominator, we're just going to put it on top of each other so that we have 1 right here. So let's go ahead and add that 1/5 that was left over. Then we could add. So we have 4 and 6/5. This is equivalent to this. Now let's subtract 2 and 3/5. So 4 minus 2 is 2. 6 minus 3 is 3. And then our denominator is of course the same. So our final answer would be 2 and 3/5. I'm going to try 2 more examples. 3 minus 1 and 1/4. Alright, so we can't really do anything here, as you'll see, but let's give this a fraction. So our denominator is going to be 4. So 2 and 4/4 is going to be equivalent to 3. Now we could go ahead and take the other part. 2 minus 1 is 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. And then the denominator is of course the same. It's going to be 4. So our final answer is going to be 1 and 3/4. Let's try one last example. 6 and 2/3 minus 4 and 5/6. In this situation here, our common denominator is going to be 6. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. times 1 times 1, and then times 2 times 2. So we have 4 at the top. Once again, we run it into a situation in which we have to borrow 4 minus 5. Okay? So let's borrow from the 6, 5, remember the denominator is 6, 5 and 6, 6, plus what's left over. So this is going to be 5 and 10 6 now. 6 plus 4 is 10, and then our denominator is the same. Let's subtract 4 and 5 6 now. 5 minus 4 is 1, 10 minus 5 is 5, and then our denominator is the same. So our final answer is going to be 1 and 5 6. Okay, so the most important thing, of course, is making sure your denominators are the same. And if you reach a situation in which you cannot subtract the fractions, if it'll give you a negative, we're just going to go ahead and borrow from one of the whole numbers. That's it.